AntiContentProject.com.
Open it goes down.
Hello, welcome back to She Served Too. Today we are doing an episode of Thanksgiving.
Yes.
We want to talk about the things that we experienced, learned, gained from whatever our military experience that we are thankful for.
Yes.
Because I think it's a good place to think about things sometimes.
Yeah, definitely from a place of gratitude. Like in any experience, like if you're able to look on the, like, I guess the brighter side of things, or you're able to take away the lessons that you've learned or the experiences from any situation that you've gone through, I think that's where your power stands.
Very true.
Yeah.
So what's the number one thing you're most thankful for from your military service, Jalisa?
For me, I think the number one thing that I'm most grateful for about my military service would have to be the traveling experience, because that's something that that no amount of money could like, I guess no amount of money could
Buy you.
buy me that traveling experience, being able to travel outside the country and to see different cultures, and even being able to travel within this country and to see the diversity, and I guess like the people that were in the military, like it broadened my horizons, like as far as like different types of people, being able to experience and have friendships with different types of people.
Definitely. And I think some of the places we travel to, there's really no equivalent civilian experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and being able to get out there, because I've seen some pretty cool things, like even being on a cutter, a boat, a ship, a 378, going on some of our what I want to call patrols,
right.
Being able to go out there and be on the middle of the ocean and like be like, just sail, like be a sailor, I guess, like being out there at night watching the sunrises, like sunsets.
How are the stars?
Yes, the stars, like
I can't even imagine.
It was just so beautiful, like being able to smell like the seawater, and just it was a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifice, blood, sweat, tears, like, but the just being able to recall that, and that's something that I'll look back and think about all the sunrises at watch and the sunsets, basically. Yeah,
that's cool. I never even thought about that. I love watching the sun sets at the ocean because I grew up on the West Coast, so I've never really seen a sunrise on the ocean. That's really cool.
Yeah,
I think for me, probably the number one thing I'm grateful for is the I guess self-confidence that I gained. The realization that I can get through just about anything. Because it is blood, sweat, and tears. It is hard work. It is a lot of pressure. It is a lot of stress. But at the same time, you see within that you can overcome just about anything.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty exciting place to be.
It is.
I think sometimes I have to remind myself of that because, when you can't seem to overcome whatever it is at the moment, it's frustrating. But to know that doesn't define you, and that maybe you'll be more successful at something different.
Yeah, definitely. And it gives you the tools and the keys to, like, like, I didn't think about it from that perspective, but right now, like, I feel that, like as you were saying, because, like, we go through boot camp, and then we go through, like, these experiences, and then we have to, you're you have to do well in a stressful environment. So like that's all you know. So you can handle stress well. You can think on your feet, and you can get through situations, and you can speak to different people from different like you can communicate well. You can be in a team atmosphere. You have to work towards a common goal, and you be a team player and be. So yeah, there's a lot of different skills that they do give us, but self-confidence, I was just like replaying like boot camp when we had to go through our exercise, or even just running the mile, like because I had to go back to training like 4 years after two babies, like, and I started smoking Black and Miles, like I was like smoking cigarettes too, and then going back to training, and they were like, oh yeah, some people are gonna start smoking. I actually quit everything cold turkey, like got rid of soda too, like I stopped drinking soda, and then like, but it really gave me that power, like, and I was like the last one to finish the mile. Going the first time we had to do our physical fitness test, and the second time I was still like the last person, like, but I made my time, but I pushed through, and my instructor was like, go back and help her, like, and everybody they ran back and ran me in, like, but to know that I could run, like, even after like have kids, and to get back, like, that's the self-confidence.
I have not come anywhere close to my physical fitness of military career since I've had kids. But I didn't have to, so
yeah,
that's probably part of it.
Yeah,
too lazy.
Good, no, because if you were in there, you would have did it, and you would have there's no choice. You get out there, and they're gonna push you. You're working together, but to have that, and I do miss that. Like now that I'm thinking about, like I was grateful for, because in A school, that's where I really developed to learn. I did like to run. Like I enjoyed it because my roommate, they would both run, so I would go out and run with them, and it was like running through the battlefields, and it was a peaceful time. Like it was a lot of reflection during that time too.
I lived in England for about 5.5 years, and I would go run on the what do you call it? I would run in the rain. And I loved running in the rain. Like I loved just that feeling of the moisture on my, like, other people were like, what's wrong with you? Like, you can't really do it here when it's raining, because there's usually lightning involved. Plus, like, the roads are super slick, but in England it was always raining, so the roads were never slick. Like, it was just the life of England. And if you didn't run in the rain, you'd never run. But I had a couple of running buddies, and we just go out and run, and like running was kind of my go-to stress relief. I used to run. People laughed at me so hard. And I was in Korea, they had an indoor track, and it was something like 16 laps to a mile. Like 16 laps on this indoor track, and it wasn't even. Like the path was uneven and stuff. And I would go and I would run like 3 to 5 miles a day on that track. And people were like, how do you do it? I'm like, I count backwards. They're like, I'm getting closer to 1. But when you're talking like 80 laps, it's kind of funny. But I loved it. And then, like, when I started having physical issues, it's been hard because I missed that time of just running. Like, we didn't have swimming, but running was kind of my go-to, like, release for relaxation. So yeah, I guess that's another thing I'm thankful for, is that I learned a lot about physical fitness in the military. So that was pretty cool. Like, another thing I'm super thankful for is I was able to get 2 bachelor's degrees and a master's degree using both my tuition assistance on active duty and my GI Bill. And that's huge because I was the first person in my family to get a bachelor's degree. I was the first person in my family to get a master's degree. I was able to do those things thanks to my service, but thanks to the generosity of the American taxpayers in giving me those resources. So thank you, America, for allowing me to learn a lot of things, to be a lifelong learner, and to be able to use that knowledge to help others. Definitely. I think that's one of the good things. I'm just like zoned out right now. You were talking earlier about, though, like what Intel school taught you.
Yeah, I can honestly say that that's another thing I'm grateful for in my military experience is intelligence taught me because I always kind of questioned things before, but they taught me how to critically research and to find other sources and to think, just don't not to be so narrow minded and to really be able to research, and that has opened a new world to me. And I've just the different things I've been able to gather, the knowledge that I've been able to gather, and the knowledge that the research, the way to research, I'm gonna pass down to my kids. Like you said, being a lifelong learner, because now it's like, okay, open source. Like, oh, okay, well, what's this? Oh, this is how. These are the steps. This is how I function. And not that I want, my kids will have that instilled in them to not just take one source. You always you gather multiple sources. There's steps that you need to go.
Find the real story.
Yeah.
There's usually some combination of several.
Yes, and be able to decipher, because I think that's one skill that a lot of people don't have, and it gets us in a lot of trouble how am I trying to say, to be able to critically research things and to critically think. I think we've got away with that, and we need that back. We need.
I think our education system is kind of geared towards teaching you to think a certain way. And depending on where you go to school, that certain way might be a little bit different. But I think being able to look at multiple sources, being able to try to see both sides of a story, try to see both sides of an equation, is huge. And I too experienced that in Intel training because it's so funny because one of the things we talked about was open source analysis, and essentially that's exactly what Tom Clancy did. Only he was never an Intel analyst, but apparently they actually hired him to go to the Joint Military Intelligence College.
Wow.
And teach open source analysis because he actually had to go through a few Senate hearings where they thought he stole classified data because he was so good at putting together open source information that he was actually putting together classified information that he shouldn't have had. Hunt for Red October.
Yes.
They had to change the depth of our submarines after that book came out.
Wow.
Because he was so dead on.
Yes. But just
he was so dead on about it that they literally had to change how they operated because the Russians were finding them. So, but having those skills, he developed them outside of the military, but having those skills is huge. And being able, I think it's less about rote memorization and, spitting out information than it is about knowing where the resources are and how to pick out what is valid information.
Yes, and decipher and to be able to figure out just from understanding, because I think that was a big thing with the Facebooks, the fake news, and really a lot of people will not even. That's what I'm starting to. I didn't understand before, but I'm starting to open. Is a lot of people, they won't even open a link, but they'll just run with the head story. Oh, well, I heard this, and I'm well, wait, well, where did you get that information from? Oh, well, I heard it on the news. Well, did you research it? That's my next question. It's usually no, well, I read it, but so it must be true, and it's not. Just because
you read it.
It doesn't make it true, and it's just you have to and we don't.
You have to be able to vet information.
Yes,
and that's important.
And before you even spit, you don't have to regurgitate it. And that's what I think where you you're saying with school, you have to be able to regurgitate this information, and that's not with critical thinking.
One answer.
Yeah.
And the reality is
there's multiple.
Very little in life has one set answer. I mean, yes, there are facts. 3 + 3 is 6. That is fact. But so much else in life is not that simple.
No.
And I think that in Intel especially, that was a skill set we learned very well. I definitely have to throw out kudos to my mom because she taught me critical thinking before that, and I think it made me excel in my job. But it definitely took me to new levels and understanding of different things.
Yeah.
So.
And it is important. I think that's what, for me, homeschooling my kids is so important, because I don't want them to develop this hate for learning, like, and it's just like, well, I have to do my homework. Oh, this is such a drag. Oh, this is like this, I want them to be able to be like, whoa, like, to like be thirsty for knowledge. Like, I want them to just enjoy it and just be like you said, like a lifelong learner. I want them to go, and now we spend so much time at the libraries because I want them that to be ingrained in them. Like, if you need information or you want information, go utilize it. They go utilize their computers. They go, like, they see fun things, and like the libraries out here, they do a lot of interactive things, like family
it's
story
awesome.
time, and like it's free, and it's good. It's a good time, like, to
Did
get
you know
out
they
there.
actually have like a ebook lending library as well?
No.
An audiobook lending library?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta check it out.
And actually, they're not the only. A lot of libraries across the country. So even if you can't buy an Audible subscription or whatever, like, look into what your library has to offer, because there's a lot there.
They do a lot. But yeah, I think the critical thinking intelligence, it definitely taught me a new way to think and opened my mind to a lot of different things, and just my perspective on the world, a world view, like it. And to gather information from it. It's not just one news source or one, you have to, and also to present a lot of information in a little bit of time.
Exactly. Like, I think, what was it? I think it was something about, it wasn't the Las Vegas shooting, but it was something similar. It was a similar type event. And I was at a conference during that. And at the conference, they, like, in the lunchroom, they had on multiple television sources. And, like, every news station had a different, I think it was the London, like, when the truck hit the London Bridge.
Oh, okay.
I think it was that.
Okay.
But, like, every station had a different number of people that were injured, had a different number of people that were killed, had a different idea of what was. It was like every station had a completely I'm like, you are dealing with the same information, and there's 7 different television stations saying completely different things. And I was like, that's interesting. Because, like, you may think, oh, I'm watching CNN or Fox or whatever, and that's the real story. But the reality is, the reporter is dealing with a limited amount of information and trying to put it together in a way that makes sense, and
just pulling from
that may not be an accurate story, and you really do have to, like, look at different things. So
I think with a lot of things, we're so, like, because the age of information, we get our information now, instead of just taking the time, because, like, even like my uncle, he's a mechanic, he's like, you never buy the car the first year it comes out, because it still has kinks, it's still working on it. And I think that's like a lot of things, like, we need to, like, sometimes, like, with research studies, years, they go on for 50, 70, 80, plus years, like, so we cannot, it's always changing, so it's like, but we have to have it, like, I have to know right now, like, and it's not this, no matter how much you want a microwave society, it's not going to be instant. And
no. Like, I think another thing that the military taught me was how to access experts. Like, I may have been an expert in this one area, but I also knew how to reach out to somebody who was an expert in something else. Like, did I have an airfield issue? Then I knew who to reach out with, who was in airfield management. So I think that concept of, like, networking and being part of a team, like a bigger team, and being able to reach out and get that information from other sources was huge. Like, you're not a loner. You can't be a loner in the military. Like,
no. In any, like, really in any realm of our society, like, we all, it's not just one person succeeding. Like, it takes, in every aspect, it's a village behind everybody, and, like, we're in that community, and it takes for us all to work together and co-create and coexist to get everything done the way it needs to be.
True. Like, the whole adage, it takes a village. Like, I think we live not just in a microwave society, but in a society that says, well, I have all the internet at my fingertips, so I should be able to do anything all by myself.
Yeah.
And the reality is, no, you can't.
No.
Like, and if you try, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah.
You need people.
Yeah.
So the military definitely taught me the need for people.
Yes.
What else did the military teach you?
For me, what else did the military teach me? What was another good? I would just say like,
Or something you're just thankful, like, I am thankful for the friendships I formed in my
yeah, friendships, definitely.
and that sisterhood, like,
Yeah.
something about being women in the military and being that minority in the military, like I have people that I still am in contact with that, like, I still, that there's a sisterhood there. There's a bond that you form, and a lack of like one-upsmanship of just like, okay, I want to help you succeed. I want to help you be the best that you can be. And I don't see that a lot with women in the civilian world.
Yeah.
I think it's very much competitive.
Yeah.
Kind of this mean girls mentality.
Yeah.
And maybe in some career fields that wasn't the case, but in my experience, like, it was across career fields. Like, you could be a finance person, and you could be a mechanic, and I was an intel analyst, but we were all women in the military, and we would develop this bond and go to lunch and just, like,
hang out. And
that was probably the hardest thing for me leaving the military, was losing those friendships. And not losing them, but just, it's difficult when you're home with a kid and like they're working, like trying to,
or you try to get out and you have these friendships with the civilian women or women who don't understand. And I think that's like, I have my friends that are, pre-military, and then I have my military friends, like, but to be able to reach out to that woman who's also served with you and knows, like, it's not like, who knows, who can relate to those experiences. I think that's powerful as well in our healing and just in the experience within itself. Like, I think it's a good thing. But yeah, I'm definitely proud of that. Like, 'cause the military did, like, my friend Kayla, we became really, really close. But when I went to A school, she was on the East Coast, and her mom, like, they welcomed me in. Like, it was like I was a part of their family. And to have that when you don't have your family I was forever grateful. Like, we went to church, like, we went to eat. Like, it was just, to have that love and support when you have nobody, it's powerful. And like, even now, like, I was able to experience the East Coast, and we went to New York. Like, I was, because of that, that relationship and that sisterhood and that service, that connection to service. It did.
I actually had a deployment that was highly unusual. Women in the military at the time were less than 10% of the military overall, and on a deployment we were less than 2%. And somehow I managed to be in a shop with 5 women and no men. We had no men in our entire shop, like, both shifts. It was all when we had a female captain, a female master sergeant, and like senior, or maybe it was just 4 of us, I don't know, but we were all women. And that was a really interesting experience to not have to deal with some of the stuff that the guys would do when they're deployed. Like, my first deployment, the guys always wanted to watch, like, the lingerie fashion show in the middle of the night. And I had to deal with that. It was just like, just get the job done, work together, be a team. And that was pretty awesome. So yeah, friendships, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Travel, for sure. Like, I think when I was in Korea, a lot of people were like, look, it's a funny story. When I was in basic training, we had to put down our top assignments we wanted to go to. And I had a Korean boss at college when I worked at the library. And I thought she was pretty cool. So when I was looking through the options, I was like, oh, Korea sounds like fun. And, like, I get to tech school and people are like, you did what? But I ended up getting an assignment to Korea. And so many people hate Korea. They're just like, it's miserable. I just get drunk every night, blah, blah, blah. Like, Korea was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. Like, I would go downtown. Like, I met this woman who ran a little fabric store, and she made hanboks, which are the traditional Korean dress that they wear for, like, special ceremonies and weddings and all that kind of stuff. So I had hanboks made for me, my sister, my mom, and like I learned a little bit of Korean from her. Like, we kind of learned how to communicate. So I learned it from a native speaker. So then when I went out into other parts of Korea, I spoke it like a native. So I'd say the 12 words of Korean I knew, and people would be like, blah, 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 and I'm like, Chokum, Chokum Hangul. I don't know what you're talking about. But just that relationship and having that conversation and learning how to like realize that it's different when you're saying, goodbye to a group of people, or goodbye to someone you're close to, or goodbye to someone you're just meeting, or like the different like idiosyncrasies of that language. And like they had the Korean American Friendship Association that took us on these amazing tours. Like I got to go see the Hyundai factory in Ulsan, I think. But like where they make Hyundais, I got to see like a steel factory. I got to see how steel was made. Like it's so hot in those places. Like I got to go make pottery in like the traditional heart of the Celadon festival. Wow. Like I got to go to the mud festival, which was so much fun. Yeah. Like I got to experience these like deep cultural things that I don't think I would have like, because we were there, because we were helping with their defense and everything. They were just grateful to us and gave us these experiences that I'm not sure you could even buy at the time, and would certainly not have known about. And like I would take my family to Korea in a heartbeat. Like a little scary right now, but even so, like Korea is a really amazing place. And living in England and getting to go to Oxford and Cambridge and London and Scotland and Ireland and Germany and Italy, and just go all these places that like you can't just do that. Like and to understand the cultural things and everything, that's huge. And it really is. Like you talked about worldview, and I think growing up, worldview meant belief systems. And that's part of it, but I think worldview is far more than that. I think it's an understanding of the various aspects of a society that go into a culture and how that impacts how they think, how they act, how they do things, and being able to, like, having to analyze that for one, but also being able to do the analysis yourself, just thinking through, okay, like learning, that certain cultures, saving face is the be-all, end-all, and you need to make sure that you're able to do that, or, like, if you're not a little brusque with some people, like, they just don't take you seriously because that's just how you should be, or bartering, like, just all these different things that you just don't perceive when you've only been in one culture. And I think when it comes election time, when it comes lawmaking time, I think your understanding of these issues takes place in a very different vacuum than someone who's only ever lived in America, because you've seen the impacts, the ripple effects of a decision around the world and on anybody's part, and how one little tiny thing can impact so many other things. And I think that's a really powerful thing to understand.
It's an experience too, and just realizing that they're people too. Like, this, you get that human connection. Like, well, like, cause you get, like, if you're here, like me growing up here, like, you get narrow-minded, and then going to join the Coast Guard, and then going to down south and going to Panama, flying, like, I had to fly into Panama, and like that 14-hour flight, and then getting there. And for me, it was like a real culture shock, because I knew like Panamanian, like, but I didn't know Panamanian meant dark. Like, I didn't know Panamanian meant, like, I have these dark people that look like me and speak in Spanish. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? Like, because I'm just so used to being here and my narrow-minded views of what the world looked like, or what I've been presented on TV, or what I've been conditioned to believe about the outside world. But going out there and seeing it, and seeing their culture, looking at the buses and looking at the bus system like a party, like they're like, it was really Americanized, but just to see like people, like just different arrays of people speaking Spanish and being courteous, and like feeling like home. Like, I know some certain parts of home, but to realize that they're human beings outside of us, and to see how they live and breathe like the same, and I think just mind opening and mind altering.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
I would say
That's
that.
awesome. So yeah, the military taught us a lot.
Yes.
It grew us a lot. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful. Like, it's so funny because we've been working on this internet media company, and you would not think that much in military experience would apply to that.
Yeah.
But like from learning multiple computer systems to learning how to do a presentation, like you learn things that you don't even realize you're learning that then you can apply to other things in your life. And that's really powerful, like to realize, like I remember when I went through the transition assistance program, they talked about writing your resume and how sometimes you had to kind of change things up. It couldn't just be a bunch of acronyms thrown in there because the civilian world's not going to understand that, but instead talking about the skill sets you gained, the things you learned, the network, like whatever it is that you learned, and that's going to depend on your job. But those are skills that you learned that no one can take away from you. Like it may be that you physically aren't what you once were, and that's okay because your mind is still there, and the things that you learned in your military service could be the thing that makes you able to learn something new. And for me, like learning how to do video editing, learning how to record things, learning how to figure out lighting, all these different things. Like being an intel briefer for 5 years taught me a lot of skills that made me able to do that. And
getting up, speaking, like that was one of another public speaking. It was because of intelligence school. Like I was able to find that voice, to find that self-confidence, to find my to actually find my voice, because before I was meager, like, and I was still, like, by that time I was just in the game, so I was salty. I was a salty sailor, but after, like, to verbalize how I felt, to communicate yes and no, and to with a voice, and so like it's powerful, and it's also transition. It's taught me like transition, how to transition and how to rebuild myself. I didn't think about that before, but because you have to build yourself, they build you into a soldier, so you have to achieve that functionability, and then
and then they take it all away.
Yeah,
and then they take something different.
They take it all away.
You have to rebuild. Do a different job. You deploy.
Exactly, and it's always you adapt, but they've gave me the ability to transform and to be that phoenix and to burn and rebuild, and that is probably something far more powerful than.
And I think too, like that's a thing that we can pass on to our further generations. Those skill sets that we learned in resilience and adaptability, we can then pass on to our children. And I am very grateful for that experience.
Me too. And yes, that is, and education, like, and a lot of other things to be, because that is. I am grateful. Like now, I'm feeling good. So, what are you grateful for your military service? What's the best parts of your experience, and what have you learned, and what skill sets have been most beneficial for you?
Yes. We'd love to hear from you at AntiContentProject on Twitter, or just at AntiContent, and then AntiContentProject@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your story. We'd love to hear what you're thankful for. Just take a moment to be thankful for things. We can talk about the things that have been stressful and that have been hard, but the reality is there has been a lot of good that came out of our experience, and we wanted you to know. So thanks for listening.
Thanks.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
AntiContentProject.com